Hey guys, this is Monica at Academic Phoenix Plus, and today we are going to go over how to create a simple desk with its assets. So this is considered an introduction modeling and texturing video, so this is mostly for beginners. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing you always need to do is look for reference. I would like to create this desk. This desk is a little bit complicated, so I think it's going to be really great learning. Also, I'm going to create the assets, including this picture frame, this computer, and the lamp. I'm also going to show you how to UV map it and texture it. Now, this does have lighting, so we're going to go over basic lighting, and we're going to try to get these cool reflections. But moving ahead, let's go ahead and just focus on the modeling of the desk. The first thing I need to do is set up my scene. In Maya, anytime you're going to create a new asset, you're going to go to File, Project Window, and I'm going to go to New. Here, I'm going to call it, let's just call it Desk. And I'm going to go to my folders and find somewhere I'm going to place it. Somewhere that I can find it. Now I have a folder called 3D Project, so that's going to be perfect. I'm going to go take one step back and select 3D Projects and then click Select. Once I do that, I'm going to click Accept. Now if I go to my folders, 3D Projects, you're going to see that I have a folder called Desk, and it's got all of these folders. This is Maya's way of organizing. So Scenes is where you put your Maya scenes. Images is going to be where you place your working files, and it also is where you place your renders. And also I'd like to put my references here. And finally, source images is where you want to put your final textures. So we're going to go over that. Don't worry, we're going to go over it step by step. So let's go ahead and save. Let's save this image into our images folder. So I'm going to click save. Let's see. Desk. I'm actually going to put it in source images because I'm going to bring it into my file. So now that I have that, I'm going to go to source images. I'm going to right click on my file and go to properties. What I'm looking for is the dimensions 713 by 580. I'm going to need that because I'm going to create a plane that's going to have the same dimensions. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to scoot this over because I have horrible short-term memory and I'm going to forget. I'm going to go to polygon modeling, click on this plane, and it's going to create a plane. So it's base, and I'm going to press F to zoom in. I don't really need all the subdivisions, so over here in inputs, I'm going to change my width and height to 1. Now you may be tempted to change the width and height here, but this ruins your UVs, which we're going to go over later, but I usually use scale X and Y. So, all right, so 713, that's the first number. So it's going to be 713. Now if I put in 713, you're going to see that it's a huge file and I don't need that. So, or a huge piece of geometry. So I'm going to type in 7.13. That's going to keep it pretty reasonable. All right, and the other number is 580. So in scale Z, it's going to be 5.80. There you go. All right, now I'm ready to assign my texture. I'm going to right click, assign a new material. Now we have a lot of choices here. I'm going to choose a surface shader. Surface shader means that there's no highlight or shadow information. So I'm going to go to my surface shader. I'm going to go to out color, click on this little folder, little checker, which is an output, go to file, click on this little folder, click on desk reference, and then open. Now, don't worry if you don't see anything, just press the number 6 on your keyboard, and there it is. Now, if you don't see anything, it may still look like this. Sometimes Maya has this active. Let's go ahead and turn that off. Now I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. So go to your channel box up here on the right, and I'm going to change this to 90. Going to move this and move it back. I'm going to call this my reference geo. And I'm going to put it in a display layer so I don't accidentally select it. So I'm going to click on this one, which is like a little white sheet with a blue circle. Click on that. And that's going to give me a display layer so I can hide it. Now, I really want to see it. I just don't want to select it. So over here, this blank one, there's this transparency, and then there's reference. Reference means I can't select it. All right, perfect. All right, let's go to File, Save As. Now notice where this places it. This is the reason why we create folders, and this is the reason why we set our projects and everything. It's because we want to go to it automatically. Maya immediately looks for your desk file in the scenes, which is exactly what you want. So I'm going to go ahead and desk version 1 start model. Well, let's go ahead and model this. What you need to do is take a look at the shape of the object, and you have several tools here or several pieces of geometry that you can use to start. Now this looks like a cube, so I'm going to start with a cube. So I'm going to go with my cube, I'm going to scale it, move it up, and I'm going to stretch it out. Now what would be nice if we had blueprints, but I'm just going to eyeball it at this point. All right, maybe a little thicker. Okay, so I'm going to go for this part here, which is a lot simpler. I can tell that there's a little like support system right here. So this is almost like a rectangle. But you may be tempted to just kind of create a rectangle. I'm actually going to make sure that almost all the pieces are going to be attached together. Okay, so I'm going to shift right click, insert edge loop tool. I'm going to click once, I'm going to click twice. There you go. Now the edge loop, you have to go to an edge. You can't click in the middle of the polygon. It's not going to work. You've got to go into the edge. All right. So now that I have that, I'm going to right click face, select this face and do a Control E. That's extrude. I'm going to click on this trigger, which is going to take me to world space, and I'm going to just bring it down a little bit. This is going to create the support system right here. Now I'm looking at it and I'm thinking this is a little far in. So I'm going to go to my vertex, right click vertex, select these, try not to select any of those, and then I'm going to move it. There we go. So that looks a little better. Cool. Okay. So now we're going to create these legs. So again, this is an object mode, shift right click, insert edge loop. And we're going to put in some legs. Okay, now that I have that, notice that I'm always toggling. That's really important when you're modeling. You need to make sure that you're always toggling. That means that I'm always moving my camera around. So if you select one edge and you double click, you will select the whole edge loop. So that's a little shortcut there. All right, right click faces, select these two. Are they the same height? They don't look the same. I'm gonna go back to edges, double click. I'm gonna move this a little bit. I'm gonna double click on this one too, and I'm gonna move it as well. All right, let's go to face again. Click these two faces. We're gonna do an Control E, extrude, and again, world space. Click on this little trigger. That's gonna be world space and bring it down. So again, I'm eyeballing this. I don't have any blueprints, but you know, I think I'll be okay. So I'm noticing that these guys are pretty thin and the legs that I made are pretty thick. So I probably need to go and shrink them a little bit. So thank goodness we can fix everything in 3D. I'm going to select this whole row because I want to keep everything as even as possible. I'm going to make sure that everything's good, and I'm going to just kind of scoot it in a little. That's looking better. Same thing, I'm going to get the right angle. I'm going to make a selection. I'm going to double check to make sure I didn't see. I selected too much. I'm going to deselect these. And now I've got that. So I'm going to scoot these over until they're a little flat. Okay, good. All right, now I'm going to create this place right here. So object mode, shift right click, insert edge loop. So you may be wondering, why am I showing you all these shortcuts? And because shortcuts are really important. You'll see that I'm always going into face mode. By the way, I'm going to faces. I'm deleting these. And I'm going to delete this one too. Shortcuts means that you are going to be faster, and the faster you are, the more the company is going to appreciate you, the more things get done faster. So shortcuts are really big. All right, so now I need to connect them. I'm going to select this guy here, and I'm going to go to my modeling toolkit and click on bridge. There you go. I'm going to click on one edge, click on the other, and bridge. Do the same thing. This time I'm going to click on the letter G on my keyboard. The G on my keyboard means that it's my last command that I made, which was bridge. So I'm going to select this one, click on this one, G, and there we go. It does have a little bit of a support down there, so I'm going to select these guys and just kind of do a little extrude. Again, click on this little trigger and bring it down. Okay, not too shabby. Okay, moving on. So now that I have this, it's time to work on this part. Looks a little stubby. I'm going to maybe bring this down a little bit. Whee. Okay, we go. All right. Let's do the same thing for here. So I'm going to shift right click, insert edge loop tool, and I'm going to create some edges. Now this one's a little bit more to the side. So I'm going to double click these and just kind of move them aside, maybe to around here. And since this is the same thickness, then it's going to be pretty easy for me to just grab these guys. Whoops, not that one. Control E, click on the little trigger, and then bring it down. Right, I'm going to do the same thing again. Control E, or if you want to be awesome, click G, which is the last command, which was extrude. Click on this little trigger and move it down. There we go. Now they're both going to be even. We're going to do the same thing. Delete this side, delete the other side, and we're going to bridge. Edge, edge, and then bridge. I'm going to try something crazy. I'm going to select all of them. And then I'm going to select these guys and then click bridge and hope for the best. Woohoo! That was easy. Very nice. All right, I'm going to zoom out and see what it looks like. So it's coming along. Okay, let's talk about this. Now I could take this and start extruding and make it into the same piece, but this piece is actually complicated enough that I think I would just build it. I'm thinking of now I feel like challenging myself. Because it's always good to have everything in one piece of geometry because it'll be easier to UV map. But in this case, it seems pretty, it's a pretty complicated piece because it's got a couple of things. So maybe I'll go ahead and create it. So I'm going to create a cube. I'm going to get the basic shape first. And I'm going to go to my side mode just so I can get the right, at least the right height. So it kind of goes here. And now I can grab my vertices and bring these down so it kind of matches right there. I'm going to stretch this out, of course, and then bring this out as well, just a little bit. And now I'm going to try to play around until I can get it to flush. So I'm going to need this to help me. So it's right there at the edge. I want to make sure it's the same, it's flush the same way. So that's pretty good. So this is the center of the cube. It's right here. And this is pretty close to the edge. Maybe just expand it just a tiny bit more. There you go. And same thing for the side view. I'm going to maybe move this so that it matches a little bit more something like that. Okay. So now I have the basic shape. All right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to select this, edit, delete by type history, modify, freeze transformations, file, save as. Version 2. Continue modeling. So really fast, right now I'm under MA. There's two options when you save a Maya file, an MA, which is an ASCII file, and an MB, which is a binary. Most people have a tendency to use an ASCII file because it can't go backwards. It can't be version compatible to previous versions. So an MB has a tendency to just stick to Maya 2018 and above, but when you try to import it into Maya 2017, like for example, if I give it to a client and they have 2017, the chances are it's not going to work. But with an MA, the chances are it is going to work. So the files are a little bit bigger when you use an MA, but at the end it's worth it. Okay, so now that I have this set up, the scale seems to be good. Actually, it almost feels like it needs to be slightly fatter. Okay. What I like to do is create that little hole first. So shift right click, insert. Let's go ahead and add this in here. I'm going to go to my faces, Control E, I'm going to scale this time. So click on this little guy right here, which is a cube. It's going to bring in the universal scale. Scale it in just a little bit. Maybe shape it a little bit like so. And then we're going to do another Control E. Going to click on this little guy and then push it back. All the way back. Oh, too far back. Okay, there we go. All right. So that gives us that shape. Now, these are two cabinets. Well, if we want to animate them, for example, we would need to actually model. Now I'm debating. Well, let's pretend it's not going to get animated. Shift right click, insert. So these are the type of questions you need to ask your director. Is the character going to open this cabinet? If it is, then you have to model the inside, model the separate drawers, you know, so on and so forth. But if it's not going to be animated, then you can just model it like this. Okay, so let's go to face. We're going to extrude a little bit. And maybe just a little bit inward. Push it in. Control E. Bring this out again. And then I'm going to scale it out again. Just a little bit. This is going to give me a little bit of a indentation. Let's take a look. Something like that. Can you see how it's a little bit indented? That's going to work for me. All right, let me go to edges and double check. Make sure this is not too tight. It's a little tight. So I might need to select these faces here. And just pull it out just a little bit so I can see that edge that I made. Now I can grab just this face and just bring it in again. So I just need a tiny indentation, nothing major. Maybe just bring it out this too. Let's see how that looks. I'm going to show you a trick. Under panels, render, viewport 2.0, I'm going to click this on. And if you scroll down, there is something called screen space ambient occlusion. Go ahead and enable that, and it's going to fake occlusion, which is really nice. We can always increase or decrease the radius, which I think I'm going to decrease it a little bit. That kind of fakes shadow information, so that gives me a little bit more depth, which I kind of like. All right, so that's one cabinet. The other one's pretty flushed in there, so I might just emphasize it with textures. Okay, and then this guy is just a cylinder, so I'm going to go and create a cylinder. And I'm going to bring this in really tight, but this is a lot of geometry for a very small piece, so I'm going to reduce this to maybe a 12. Still seems kind of high. 10. That looks better. Okay, maybe a little thicker. And I'm going to turn off the cap. I don't need a cap. There you go. You see how that's empty now? All right, let's rotate this 90 degrees. Shrink this and place it on top of our cabinet. Oops. Where'd it go? Okay. So I can tell by the reference image that this is actually circular but straight. So I am going to do just that. I am going to grab the face. So it's getting a little crowded. I'm going to click on this, bloop, which is just means hide everything but the object that I have selected. I'm going to grab these faces here. I'm going to scale them flat. So if you go to scale and you grab this and scale flat, it's going to be nice and flat. Control E. Click on this little trigger and bring it out. There you go. To get everything back, just click on this and we have a handle. Cool. Put that on here. Blink. Is it too big? Yes. Scale. Might still be. And then I'm going to duplicate it, Control D, move it down, and then place it. I'm going to go to the view and make sure that everything's somewhat aligned. This is the center, so it's not too bad, but I feel like this can, whoops, this can be moved just a little bit. Okay, that looks okay. All right, guys, that was the first part of the tutorial on how to model a desk. The next part is going to be how to model these assets. And then we're going to go ahead and UV map it and then texture it. So there's still a few more steps to go, but very quickly we can create a really nice looking desk. You can download this reference image at academicphoenixplus.com. You can also download this finished product at academicphoenixplus.com. Let me know if you have any questions. If you find this tutorial helpful, please share with your friends, social media, and please give it a like. I really enjoy making these tutorials for you. So let me know if you have any questions. Leave a comment down below, and I will see you in part 2. I will see you next time.